when you cheat out of the lack of, you have to now tell your partner that they were lacking, and you also robbed your partner the ability to make that adjustment. So now you have to tell them, hey, look, I didn't speak up, because they say, hey, well, why didn't you speak up? Why didn't you just tell me you want a little bit more head? Right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, now you rob that person from the opportunity to actually do what you were searching for or craving or desire. When you rob that person from that ability to do so, it's a harder conversation to have, because you have to look at that person in the face and say, you know what? I got fed up. I built it up inside of me, and I just carried it out somewhere else. And, you know, I never gave you a chance to fix that, especially if we're talking about marriage. Right?
Yeah, because you cheated because you wanted more head. You have no self-control.
No, but he's saying you're saying lack of, but you're saying lack of after the fact, when the real reason is that you were selfish. So if you can't go to your partner and say, I'm being selfish, I need a selfish moment, and it's me, I, that's why I'm thinking it's a harder conversation to have than post cheating, because you have to face yourself and say, hey, I need to do this, or I want to do this. And you have to look your partner in the face before you either do that or you work with that person and you continue the relationship or try to make it work, as opposed to going behind their back and lying. That's why I think it's easier to try to.
Is that what the conversation before sounds like? Because I wouldn't imagine that the conversation before sounds like, hey, I want to do this. Conversation is usually telling them what they're lacking, therefore giving them the opportunity to change or adjust whatever behaviors. And that's just what I think would be the pre-conversation, which I don't think would be the hard part.
Telling your partner what they're lacking.
Well, again,
correct.
We're having two separate conversations, but with similar outcomes. One side of the spectrum is, okay, cool, I'm cheating because there's a lack of in my relationship. The other side of the spectrum is, hey, I'm cheating because I just want to have new experiences,
which are both selfish, because you're not cheating for lack of. Either way, it's based in selfishness.
It's not based in selfishness. I think selfish is, hey, I want to experience something without you. That's more selfish. The other one is, hey, I just want more of you, but I'm not getting it for whatever the reasons may be. And usually you want more of them because you've already had it. You usually ask for something that you already had with them, right? And now that you've grown throughout this time frame, you've lost with whatever that is. You haven't had it in however long that has transpired. But that's the two different spectrums. So I do think they had the similar outcomes, but in my opinion, again, having a conversation is hard when you're like, hey, I just want new experiences. I still want to love you. I still want to be with you. I just want to go out and explore. Right? That is a difficult conversation.
Go to the library or the museum? Like, because you really wrapping it up like we
grab
just
him by the pussy. I can't speak for a lot of people, but I do know if a good percentage of men had the opportunity to have a hall pass with their relationship and go ahead and have sex with 1, 2, whatever, however many women in a different area, different country, whatever, on a vacation, they would most likely, a good percentage would take that opportunity, right? Now, some of them, that desire builds, and it builds to a point where they can't even hold it down anymore. Some men, it's just there. It's more so a fantasy. They could live without it. So the difficult conversation is, if I'm the guy that's saying, hey, look, this desire is now consuming me and I kind of need this outlet for whatever the reason may be. That's a difficult conversation. I mean,
for who though?
For whoever it is.
No, she means, go ahead, you finish.
For who? Because when I'm saying difficult conversations, I'm thinking it's like you have a singular issue and it's difficult for both parties. Yeah.
So in my opinion, it's definitely difficult for whoever it is.
For both sides, you think?
Of course, because I've looked at a woman and told her, like, listen, I just want to sleep with more women, but I just want to be with you. And I've had this conversation in my life before. And it shit broke her heart, because for her, she was like, I'm not good enough. And I was like, well, why did you think that I would only want one person forever? Like, but that's besides the point. But like, to watch somebody that you care about be broken because of your desires leaves you conflicted, right? So she's hurt, obviously, because she's the recipient. I'm hurt because I'm more so of the deliverer of the bad news, the bearer of the bad news. But at the same time, this is just transparency here. And
transparency is before you do this, though.
Yeah, I'm saying before.
You didn't do it yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm saying.
Just making sure that we're clear on that.
And so that's why it's a difficult conversation for both, whether you're receiving it or not. I mean, if I was a guy, if I was in Will Smith's position, I'd be like, God damn, bro. Like, I would feel bad too, even though, you know, like, you're having sex with my son's friend. It's crazy to me, right? Like, that would hurt.
I think it is a key indication that at no point you and whoever that issue is with, the other person, have had like a real opportunity to have a real conversation, because like you wouldn't be holding it in if you actually had an opportunity to have a exchange with someone about the issue. Because why are you holding it? Otherwise, you wouldn't be holding it in, because you letting it out. You talking about it.
I believe that if we're together, I'm not talking about friends or, co-workers, but if we're in the actual,
not our friends.
No, I'm saying either or. Yeah. If I'm with you, seriously with you, you are my significant other, and you say crazy things to me that now have that become a difficult conversation out of anger, I'm gonna look at you as a coward. Because there should have never been this built up animosity that you were saving for this rainy day. This has been something that we should have been spoken about at some point in time. And if you genuinely cared about me, you wouldn't have used it against me. You would have tried to help me correct it instead of keeping my flaws in your back pocket to throw it in my face. So,
Rico, I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood what you were asking, but I was thinking that the anger comes from a person who has tried to have the conversation, and then they're met with defensiveness or projection, like just everything that's not the solution, or a fair exchange. Or I won't even say fair exchange, but a reasonable exchange. Yeah. And so when you're angry and then you lash out like that, and from my perception, I'm thinking it's because you have tried. You have tried to have conversations. You've tried to fix things. You've tried, and you're always met with nothing.
But I feel like for me, that's different, and for me, that's not really lashing out. It's called repeating yourself, right? Because you've already said these things to me,
right? None
of it is new. So whether you yell it or spoke it or calmly told me it was never attacked. Oh, I mean, it was never new to me.
Oh no.
You might add a couple more adjectives, but I still get the basis. Now, for me, let's just say if you start saying like things like crazy things that I was like, what? You motherfucker.
No, they was
Yeah. You came here. And I'm like, I didn't even think you would say something like that. And that's when I feel like you were a coward, because it's like you either one kept things that you knew that I shared with you that was definitely like, sensitive for me in your back pocket, and in case this situation happened, you was going to try to attack my neck with it. Two, you never gave me the opportunity to even fix it. You just probably laugh with your friends about it, and then finally...
That's not fair.
And it's not fair, right? Because like you see it, like I seen it in movies growing up, right? Back in the day, when they were still like, the first thing a girl would do when she broke up with a nigga... Well, I'm sorry. The first thing a girl would do when she broke up with a man in the movie is in front of everybody say that his joint was small, right? But she was rocking with him for 2 years. 3 years, 5 years. And it's like, well, damn.
She loved him.
Yeah, but maybe it might have been true. I'm not sure. But that's something that she should have said to him month one.
You can't change that.
But what I'm saying is she should have said something like, yo, listen, your joint kind of small, but I love you. Right? But then you...
What would be the point?
I'm just saying, you wait for a grand stage moment to tell me something that you've always felt about me is cowardly.
How is that not the same as you cheating on them?
What do you mean? I'm not
Explain it.
comparing it.
Because no, okay. Well, kind of, sort of, because they're holding something against you, but in your cheating thing,
Oh.
you want them,
Gotcha.
you want to cheat and then repair, as opposed to them telling you up front that your joint was small.
Well, one, I don't want them anything. Two,
Oh, sorry. No.
two, my
That
whole
mini
point.
meat.
Yeah. Two, my whole point was on that specific scenario was that it's a tougher conversation to have after the fact, prior to the fact. So, from like, what?
Hmm?
What?
It's only a tougher conversation for you because of what's going on.
He lost me with that.
I was
It was
trying to literally.
okay.
I'm in my mind. I'm like, what's
It was
after
a
the
tougher
fact part?
conversation for the cheater to have with the spouse after he has cheated versus him telling her what he wants to do prior to even going out and cheating.
Got
That was my point on that. I'm not saying you should do. I'm a firm believer in telling, like, yo, listen, I wanted to do this. This is what I want to do. I'm a firm believer in, and I tell people, I give you warnings.
Why do you think that people are generally not good at that?
When were you taught to do it? You were taught to raise your hand before you speak. You were taught to be polite to people. You were taught to not tell people something crazy. Violet.
I don't know. Kids be just.
So look, Violet's short story. There is a woman who's seemed to be a very nice woman. I was out on her bike and she's like, "Oh, hi." I said, "Your teeth are dirty." She did have yellow teeth.